Hi everyone, Graham Keith here from The Great Wake Up, and welcome to this video. Now in this video what I wanted to talk about, and I want your input and opinion on, so please leave it in the comments, yeah? Are you awake? Are you aware of what's going on in the world? If you're watching this video, then probably you are. You're one of the select, chosen few. Well, chosen. Many, multiple millions, if not billions now. But the point of this video today is, have you suffered at the hands of unconscious people? What I mean by unconscious people are people who are still living the illusion, still living in the matrix, in inverted commas, and still think that reality is just reality, it's just random, it just happens, life just carries on day by day. They repeat the same things, or get up, go to work, come home from work, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home from work, go to bed. They don't see anything wrong with that. They don't see the true understandings of money. They don't know what it is. They're not sure about education systems and universities. They think they're superior, or maybe, by going to university, and yet they just simply will not look at any information regarding, they call them conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theory, as we know, translates into the word truth. So let's have a look at the psychological fundamentals behind these people. And I've got many people who I know are like this. Many of my family are like this. I regularly get ridiculed and laughed at and told to shut up and don't bring your shit here. Actual words, don't want to hear your shit, basically. That's what I get told by my own family. Now, obviously, those have all took the COVID jabs as well. And I tried telling them before 2020, before the rollouts, don't touch these things. They're very dangerous. They're going to kill a percentage of people. Heart attacks, strokes, pulmonary embolisms, TIAs, that kind of thing. Turbo cancers, and many, more. And we're seeing that now, aren't we? But my gripe is not the fact that these people simply flat out deny and ridicule people who have done their awakening process and realise that reality is literally just a movie created by the bankers, created by the secret societies, the Committee of 300, the Council of Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, the World Economic Forum, and such and so forth. So what are the psychological reasons why people won't look? Well, if people are too scared, they won't look. But it goes deeper than that, because people don't have to be scared, they just have to be superior. Oh, you're wrong. I'm right. Well, how do you know I'm wrong? Have you done any research? No, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. What? See, we're not trained how to think. We're trained what to think. And even if people actually woke up and smelt the coffee and opened their eyes and awakened to what reality is actually showing them, they'd still probably go back to sleep, and they still would have an issue with it, and they still would just ignore it, and they still would just do what they do and repeat the same stuff. But is it because they're scared? Could be. But more often than not, it's the fact that their illusions will be shattered. And make no mistake, people who are ridiculing you, swearing at you, demanding that you stop speaking, and threatening to, like, if they're in your company, they'll threaten to leave when you talk about the truth. They'll threaten to leave your house. In your own house, they're talking about the truth. Now, I wasn't allowed round my sisters at Christmas dinner a couple of years ago because my brother-in-law said, and I quote, "I don't want to hear your shit." Right? Which is his right to say, absolutely. But the issue is, none of these people, none, have done any research. Now, there's members of my family that have gone to university, allegedly educated to a higher standard or a higher degree, Masonic degree, I might add. Probably not 33 degree, but nevertheless, that's where the university and education system came from, the Rockefeller Foundation, who are Masonic Satanists. They also developed the pharmaceutical industry, the oil industry. As a result of the oil industry, the pharmaceutical industry was born. All the chemicals that petroleum and stuff make medications. The root base of medications is petroleum, oil. So these people in control know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what the plan is, and the plan is drip-fed over hundreds of years, so that it happens very, very slowly. But people cannot deny, like, okay, with the COVID vaccine, people could have the vaccine and be absolutely fine. And it's those people who are so nonchalant and so egotistical and so sure of themselves when they've done zero research. They've literally blindly took an experimental vaccine, which is not a vaccine, it's a bioweapon, which is proven to have killed, injured and maimed millions of people, including children and pregnant women, killing their babies and their offspring in an attempt to reduce population, which is what the Masonic agenda is all about. 4 billion reduction by 2050. They're going to do that through a number of ways, which are all being set in place now, like famines. So famines, how would a famine start? Well, the farmers, if they can't grow their crops, then nobody eats. How many people do you think are going to die from a famine? Then you've got the weather manipulation, creating tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, natural disasters, all of this stuff, again, to wipe out some of the population. Again, we have the new pandemic coming down the line and new lockdowns coming as well. And there soon will be climate lockdowns, and you'll probably be witnessing those sat inside your 15-minute city that you can't escape from, which, if we look at the towns, we see the electric bollards up and down, and we see essentially the drip-feeding gradual process of our digital prison being built. Look at the 5G towers. Why were they put up during COVID when everybody was meant to be locked down? Certainly not me. Not now and not ever. Why were workers allowed to be putting these up? Exactly. The workers don't know, because they're just there for money, doing a job following orders in order to support their family and pay their bills. But they're building the actual kill grid. And this is how the system operates. The system basically manipulates and defrauds us into, if you're unconscious and not aware, doing your job is all that you need to do, because doing your job, much like a hierarchy or a compartmentalization system, just by doing your part of your job, pushes the agenda forwards. So everyone is building their own prison. The workers of this country are building their own prison. Okay, now my nephew, for example, works for the Met. Now, he works for the Met, and essentially, again, university educated man, but he is building prison for his own children. He is recruiting police, which is his job, but he doesn't get the say in that. He just has to follow the criteria of the recruitment process, which is basically, will you follow orders and will you do as you're told? Yes and yes. There you go, you've got the job. 6-8 weeks basic training, and the police are out collecting revenue more often than not. But obviously the police do have a common law responsibility to do, and we look at the Golders Green attack the other day, and fair play to the police who actually targeted that terrorist, because at the end of the day, they're just men and women like us. I don't have any malice against the police. I have malice against stupidity and ego, and I also have malice against people who are unaware of what is going on, because they've got the same eyes as me. They've got the same eyes as me, the same eyes as you. And then what they can say is, well, the COVID vaccine, I never saw it kill anybody. It never killed me. I'm fine. Right. Okay, I'll see your point. But we can't see who's dying on a daily basis, who's having a heart attack now, who's having a stroke now, who's just been diagnosed with turbo cancer. So we can't see that. But we can see the mass importation of third world men into our country, into the whole of Europe, and we can visibly actually see this change taking place. So when you tell these people who are in fear, in ego, and think they know it all, when in fact they're just scared of having their illusions burst, their fake life that they believe is real, then, essentially I've got no sympathy for these people, really, because there is a line drawn. If you can see with your own eyes, say, the demographic change of Europe and the UK, you can see all these new people coming in, these new migrants coming in. You can see on the news these stories of migrants raping people, attacking people, murdering people, stabbing people on the street for watches, stabbing people in broad daylight just because they're Jewish. When has that ever been normal in your life up until now? When have you ever had a vaccine made in months, which isn't a vaccine? When have you ever had a pandemic that was globally orchestrated in lockstep all over the world at the same time? When? Never. You see, anybody can find this information out. It's blatantly obvious now. I was awake 15 years ago to all this stuff, but I kept my mouth shut because I needed to be sure. So I carried on going down rabbit holes, doing researching and checking in my intuition and my soul. And I know for a fact that I am blessed beyond belief. I see everything before it happens. I tell my family what's coming before it happens, just so that they have the knowledge and then they can make their own choice. If they want to ridicule me, they can. That's entirely up to them. But it is really a sad state of affairs when we're in this position where people can't even see or choose not to see with their eyes wide shut. So whenever somebody calls you a conspiracy theorist or a spreading hate or spreading fear, just hold your truth. You know who you are, you know the power of the work you've done to realise and become awakened to the truth of the world. And that is commended and that is commendable, because all we get is ridicule, all we get is shunning, all we get is ignored. And that's okay, I suppose. It really is, because they don't have to believe a word we say. I don't want people to succumb to their death because they've been manipulated by Western global governments, all working for the World Economic Forum to depopulate the planet. I don't want that for my kids. My kids are all awake, thankfully. They're all hyper aware of what's going on. They're all in their 18 years and 20s consecutively. And for being so young, they're so wise. So I'm very blessed for that. But how do we have to awaken these people? No, of course we don't. If they're shutting the lid on their box so tight, it's not our job to open it. And it's kind of, in a sad way, you almost want something to occur so that they finally snap out of it and wake up. But the question is, when we do wake up, what do we do then? All we can do is share the truth, share the knowledge, because this is a very, very prominent time in the world. We're moving now into the age of Aquarius, which is basically where all the darkness becomes revealed to the light, where the truth is no longer hidden. And it actually says in the Bible, it actually says in the New Testament, actually, in the last days, people will believe evil as truth, or lies as truth, and good as bad, And that's exactly where we are, isn't it? So just remember, you being awakened is a real privilege. And your job is to not worry about people who don't want to wake up and smell the roses and smell the coffee and in fact smell the truth. Because if they don't, they'll carry on building the digital prison that will ultimately lead to their own demise. They will build that. What are your thoughts on people who ridicule you for, calling you a conspiracy theorist? Or have you had any interactions with people that you want to share in the comments? Let me know. Be really intrigued to find out. Thank you for watching this video. Please hype if you're on a mobile device on YouTube. Really would appreciate that. We are growing a little bit quicker now, which is pretty cool considering YouTube has throttled the channel, banned about 6 videos, and essentially we've had to move over to Rumble and back them all up there as well. So thank you so much for watching. Please get involved, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that, and it does help the channel. And all we're here to do is continue the great wake up, and I want you to be part of that with me. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next production.